God's wrath, dragons awakening, demons lurking, monsters unleashed, giants clash, witches curse, God's fury, demons feast, horror reigns, underworld wars.
The air above the divine realm was thick with an ominous stillness, a silence so profound that it seemed to hold the breath of the cosmos itself. The vast expanse of the sky, once an unbroken canvas of light and serenity, had darkened to an unnatural shade of violet, streaked with swirling shadows that whispered of the storm to come. Far beyond the borders of the divine realm, where order falters and the void stretches endlessly, she waits. Tiamat hovered on the edge of the void, her serpentine form stretched across the vast emptiness like a dark omen. Her eyes, twin orbs of molten fury, blazed as she surveyed the defenses that Marduk had so meticulously constructed. The gods, those ancient beings who had long ruled over creation with wisdom and power, felt a creeping dread that coiled around their hearts like a serpent tightening its grip. Behind her, the forces of chaos had gathered. Uthrog and the giants, their immense forms casting shadows across the stars. Drakara and the dragons, their wings beating a rhythm that shook the heavens. Gorgon and the monsters, their twisted shapes barely contained by the darkness that surrounded them. Ishtar, the goddess of love and war, and Enlil, the storm god, stood with the Tiamat, their expressions grim with the anticipation of the battle to come.
The time has come. Marduk has fortified his realm, but his defenses will not hold against our combined might. We will shatter each layer, break through every barrier, and when we reach the heart of the divine realm, we will tear down the throne of the gods.
And so the battle for the divine realm begins, as chaos rises to meet creation in a final reckoning. The first layer of Marduk's defense was the Shield of Light, a barrier forged by the gods, unyielding and pure. It burned with the fury of the heavens, designed to keep darkness at bay. But even the greatest light could be extinguished.
Uthrog, the time has come. The light stands in our path, but light can be broken. Lead your warriors, bring it down, shatter it.
The light will shatter beneath our might. The divine realm will be laid bare.
The battle between light and darkness raged. The shield, a testament to divine craftsmanship, resisted with all its might, but cracks, like creeping shadows, began to form.
The way is open. March forth, the gods will fall.
Beyond the shattered barrier, the storm of wrath raged, a tempest alive with divine fury. It was a storm no mortal could tame, a force of nature turned into a guardian of the heavens.
Drakar, the storm is yours to command. Twist its fury to your will. Let it not be our obstacle, but our weapon.
The storm will heed me, as all the skies do. I shall turn its rage against its masters.
The sky itself rebelled, roaring with defiance. Yet Drakar was undeterred. He was born of storms, a creature of wind and fury.
Yes, bend it to our will. Let the gods taste their own fury.
The shield of light was no more. The storm of wrath had turned. The path to the divine realm lay open, and the gods stood upon the brink of war. Beneath the raging storm, the earth itself had risen to defend the divine realm. Mountains moved, the ground quaked, and the very stones seemed to come alive with the power of Ninmah and Dumuzi. The earth was a fortress, a living wall that sought to entrap and crush any who dared to breach the storm. But the earth, for all its power, was vulnerable to corruption.
Gorgon, the earth rises against us, but it can be corrupted. Burrow deep, infect the ground with the taint of chaos, and turn the very stones against the gods who command them.
The earth will rot beneath our touch, and the gods will be buried in the ruins of their own creation.
The earth, once a mighty barrier, had become a shifting, treacherous labyrinth. What once stood as a fortress now threatened to swallow its own protectors.
Corrupt the ground beneath their feet. Let them fall into the abyss.
Beyond the corrupted earth, the spirits of the dead had risen. Summoned from the underworld, they formed an ethereal army, their cries of sorrow and fury chilling even the bravest warriors. Bound by divine command, they sought to drive Tiamat's forces into madness and ruin. But the dead could be controlled.
Ishtar, the dead rise against us, but they can be made to serve. Break their bonds, bend them to your will, and turn their despair into our weapon.
The dead will obey, and they will turn their wrath against those who dare to command them.
The spectral army, once bound by divine will, had become an instrument of chaos. Their rage turned upon the gods who had summoned them, their ethereal hands tearing through the fabric of the divine realm itself.
Let the dead rise in our name. Let them strike fear into the hearts of the divine.
The defenses of the divine realm had fallen. Once unchallenged in their power, the gods now stood vulnerable, their kingdom lying in ruin before the onslaught of Tiamat's relentless forces. Giants, dragons, and twisted abominations surged forward, their hunger for destruction fueled by the dark will of their masters.
Marduk, your defenses have crumbled. Your kingdom lies in ruin. The time of the gods is over.
The cosmos was vast, Tiamat. The cycle of creation and destruction was eternal. You might ravage this realm, but the gods would endure.
Perhaps, but for now, this realm is mine. The gods will fall and chaos will reign.
The heavens wept as the last stand of the divine began. The gods who remained, few as they were, steeled themselves against the approaching darkness. They knew their chances were slim, but they stood nonetheless, their eyes ablaze with defiance. Tiamat's victory was within reach. The gods she, once mighty, now stood as mere flickering flames against the approaching abyss. The final battle was at hand.
There were laws that even the gods must obey, and through these laws, balance would be restored.
The forces of chaos marched forward, their victory all but assured. Yet unknown to them, a reckoning was coming, and in the heart of the divine realm, the embers of retribution began to burn. The heavens trembled, and the cosmos stood still as Tiamat, the great mother of chaos, advanced, her eyes burning with hatred fixed upon Marduk. The winds, once howling in fury, fell silent, and the earth ceased its trembling at the sound of his voice, calm yet bearing the weight of all creation.
Tiamat, you have sown chaos in my realm, shattered the defenses I raised to shield it. You have spilled divine blood and unbalanced the cosmos. But there is a force greater than chaos, a power that you have long forgotten.
Your words mean nothing, Marduk. Your defenses are dust. Your gods have fallen. The time of your kind is at an end. I will tear you from your throne and remake the cosmos in my image.
You have forgotten the fire.
And then Marduk raised his hand. From the depths of the palace, the fire answered his call. A flame as bright as the sun, as hot as colliding worlds, erupted from the earth. It moved with a will of its own, faster than thought, searing with an intensity that defied existence. The flames did not discriminate. Enlil, wreathed in storms, was caught in its path, his protective winds stripped away, his form engulfed in searing agony. He howled, his cries lost to the fire's roar. Ishtar, her radiant form turned to a beacon of despair, is overtaken before she can even raise her blade. The fire devours her, her screams fading into oblivion. Uthrog, Drakkara, and Gorgon, lords of chaos, mighty and feared, were reduced to nothing. The fire swept over them, consuming their very essence. In mere moments they were gone, erased by Marduk's unleashed wrath. Enlil, barely standing, staggered to her side, his eyes wide with horror.
Tiamat, we must flee. The fire, it will destroy us all.
With a final defiant roar, Tiamat turned and fled, her form dissolving into shadow as she retreated into the underworld. Enlil followed, his steps faltering, the fire still searing his flesh. Deep into the underworld, Tiamat and Enlil disappeared, their once mighty presence reduced to mere echoes of their former selves. The war was over. Marduk had prevailed. But in the depths of the abyss, the embers of vengeance still smoldered, waiting for the day they might rise again. The underworld, a place of eternal shadow and cold silence, welcomed them with open arms. Far removed from the light and order of the divine realm, it was a world where the lines between life and death blurred, where the spirits of the damned wandered in ceaseless despair. Tiamat collapsed onto the cold stone floor, her serpentine form trembling, her once magnificent scales blackened and charred. The fires that had struck her down still burned within, an unrelenting agony searing through her veins. The great Chaos Dragon, once a force of untamed power, was now broken, her rage barely sustaining her form. Enlil fell to his knees beside her, his breath ragged, his body scorched and ravaged. The storm that once wreathed him had been snuffed out, leaving only a shell of the Gorn who once wielded the winds. Each inhale was a struggle against the creeping darknesses that sought to consume him.
Tiamat, what? What have we done?
We were betrayed. Marduk, that wretched god. He knew. He lured us into a trap.
Enlil's gaze dropped to the ground, his expression shadowed with despair.
The fire? It was unnatural. Something else. Something born from the collision of our wills, our very essence. We were fools to believe we could overcome him.
We were not fools. We had the strength to tear down the divine realm, to destroy the gods. But Marduk, he used us. He turned our own power against us.
Enlil could only nod weakly, the weight of defeat pressing heavily upon him. The silence of the underworld swallowed them whole, offering no solace, only a bitter reminder of their failure.
What now? Tiamat, what do we do?
For a long moment, Tiamat was silent, her mind a storm of thoughts. The underworld was their only refuge, a place where they could nurse their wounds, but it was also a prison. The forces of chaos that had once followed her were gone. Ishtar, Uthrog, Drakkara, Gorgon, all lost in the consuming flames. She was alone save for Enlil, and the realization filled her with a gnawing dread. But she was not defeated, not yet.
We recover, we rebuild. The fire may have consumed our forces, but it did not destroy us. We are still here, Enlil, and as long as we live, there is hope.
And Marduk, what if he comes for us?
He will not. He believes he has won. He will return to his throne, rebuild his kingdom, convinced that we are no longer a threat. But we will wait, we will plan, and when the time is right, we will strike again. We will not make the same mistake twice. This time, the fire will not defeat us.
Enlil's gaze hardened, the flicker of hope growing stronger within him. He nodded, his breath steadier now, his body still broken, but his resolve unshaken.
Then we wait. We wait, and we prepare for the next battle.
The underworld will be our refuge, but it will also be our fortress. When we rise again, the gods will not know what has hit them.
And so in the heart of darkness, where hope was but a whisper against the void, a new storm began to form. It was not the storm of winds nor of flame, but something deeper, something more terrifying. The gods had won a battle, but the war was far from over. In the divine realm, the fire that Marduk had summoned continued to burn, its flames consuming the remnants of the battle that had ravaged the kingdom of the gods. It was a fire unlike any other, a flame born from the collision of the wills of the most powerful beings in the cosmos. It burned with a heat that could melt stone, a light that could blind even the most radiant of gods, and it consumed all in its path, leaving nothing but ashes and ruin in its wake. The fire was not a natural force, nor was it a mere creation of the gods or the universe. It was something more, a force of pure will, a manifestation of the clash between chaos and order, between creation and destruction. And it was bound to Marduk, its existence tied to his will. Nothing could extinguish this fire save for Marduk's command. It burned with a ferocity that defied reason, a hunger that could not be sated. It consumed everything in its path, stone, earth, flesh, and spirit, reducing all to ash. Even the divine realm itself was not immune to its power. Its once radiant spires now blackened and crumbling beneath the fire's relentless assault. As the fire burned, consuming the last remnants of the battle, Marduk raised his hand. The flames, as if bound to his will, began to recede, their light dimming, their heat fading. Slowly, the fire retreated into the ground from which it had sprung, leaving behind a landscape of ash and ruin.
The fire has saved us, Marduk, but it has also left us with much to rebuild. The divine realm is in ruins, and our strength is diminished. We must find a way to recover, to restore what has been lost.
The light of the divine realm has been dimmed, but it has not been extinguished. We will rebuild, and we will stand strong once more.
The war is not over! Tiamat and Enlil have fled to the underworld, but they will return. We must be ready for them when they do.
The gods nodded in agreement, their expressions filled with a renewed determination. They had faced the forces of chaos and had survived, but they knew that the battle had only been a prelude to the war that was yet to come.
We will rebuild. We will restore the divine realm to its former glory, but we must also prepare for what is to come. The forces of chaos will rise again, and when they do, we must be ready to face them.
As the gods began the work of rebuilding, Marduk stood alone at the heart of the battlefield, his gaze fixed on the horizon. The fire that he had unleashed was now hidden beneath the earth, its flames dormant but not extinguished. He knew that the time would come when he would need to summon it once more, when the forces of chaos would rise again. But for now, the fire slept, its power waiting for the moment when it would be needed again. The war was far from over, but Marduk was ready. The divine realm would stand and the gods would prevail, no matter what challenges lay ahead.